Hello and welcome to another video by yours truly. Firstly, apologies for not doing one for a while. I've been so busy with one thing and another, but I finally now got some time together to do another video for you. So obviously, as before, if you like what you see, please subscribe to my channel below and share it as much as possible, and leave any comments in the box and I will try and get back to you. Awesome. What I'm going to do today is show you how I arrived at doing this, which is a background all done by myself and a Z-fold card. Being a stamper, I'm all for doing my own backgrounds, and I just love the way the versatility of the stamps lend themselves to do that kind of thing. So without further ado, what I'm going to do is show you what we're going to be using, what we're going to get through, and you know, just give you an idea of what we're going through. So the stamps I've used are chocolate Barouques Make Your Mark. I love the different textures on these. Again, so versatile, available and usable for so many different projects, and again, ideal for backgrounds. I have got the mini scripts. Again, these are really good for masculine cards, and again, if you do it in the browns and the darker hues, ideal for masculine cards. So that's those. And I have got the mail art set of stamps. Again, they've got little textures which I've used, so again, they're useful. And I have got a Tim Holtz stencil. I've got the flourish here, which I will be using. I've got an archival ink pad, and that is potting soil. A Versamark ink pad, and I've also got the Distress embossing glaze crackling campfire. The distress inks I will be using is antique linen, tea dye, vintage photo, and walnut stain. So that's the colors I will be using. I will be starting off with a piece of A6 cardstock. Now, the reason I've gone down to an A6 piece of cardstock is because I don't want you looking at me spending hours and hours colouring in a piece of card. So that's why I've chosen a piece of A6 cardstock. So, and I've just lost it. I don't know what I've done with it. Hey ho, excuse me. So let's just cut a piece of A6. There we go, sorted. So there's my A6 piece of cardstock. Put that to one side. So all we're going to do first is lay down the colour onto our cardstock. So a bit of antique linen, and this can be as random as you like. Again, you don't have to necessarily use these colours. You can use any combination of colours that you like, but I just love this colour combination, especially for men's cards, because I know so many of you get stuck for male cards and what have you, and I'm hoping this will be like a foundation to And again, every time you do this, you're going to get a different... Let me just get another piece of... Yeah, every time you do this, you're just going to get a different look altogether every time you do it. Which is one of the reasons I kind of like this. So yeah, let's get a little bit more of the vintage photo down here, blend it in. So basically you don't want any white areas showing, so you just need to saturate your card really with as much of the ink as possible. There we go. Then I'm perfectly happy with that. So first things first, I'm going to get me stamps, and I'm going to dive straight in with a script stamp. I'm not going to bother to mount it, I'm just going to use it straight as it is, and I'm going to use vintage photo. And as you can see, I'm not too bothered, bearing in mind this is just going to be a background, so I just want to just randomly put some colour, some image down. I think that's enough for that. That's quite good. Let me get a wet wipe. As most of you know me by now, I do like to clean my stamps as I go. It's just a habit that I've got into, and it's not a bad habit. It's just that I have before contaminated stamps, and yeah, especially the Versamarks, the clear ink pads. Right, so I'm going to go in with a Crackle stamp, which I'm taking from the mail art. It's this little stamp up here. So that's my little stamp. So I'm just going to go in with a tea dye, and again I'm just going to randomly get some image down onto my cardstock. Again, you don't have to be too precious about stamping, as long as you get a hint of some image down, that's absolutely fine. And again, this is a background, so it's all going to blend in together. So that's that. Now what I am going to do now is get a piece of kitchen towel, and I'm actually going to, well, let's just give it a little spray of water so I can get that distress look going, and then just leave that for a few seconds. And then, and the other thing this will do is lighten the whole thing for you. See that? So, which is quite good. So you've got a nice pale background. So what I'm going to do now is a bit more of this. Clean that one. Put that back there, and let's do something different. Let's go into here. So these are the Make Your Mark stamps, and I'm just going to get the solid. Actually, I'm going to give this a bit of a dry. I've got my heat gun. Yeah, if you do find that it's curling up, just turn it over and just heat from the back a little bit, and that usually just flattens it out a little bit. So let's go for the walnut stain now. Just again, I'm just going to randomly just stamp all over like that. I'm quite happy with that. And then the inks, we could have a little bit of that. So you're just gradually building up your layers in the background. There we go. Put that one back, and then we can have, what else have we got? We've got another script stamp. This is quite nice. So what I'm going to do here is using archival, and I'm going to put this on a block now, and just randomly stamp. I don't want it too overpowering, so there we go. Happy with that. So now what I want to do is get the stencil going. So I've got my Tim Holtz Flourish stencil here. So I'm just going to randomly just place, see, that's quite nice. And I'm going to go in with the Walnut Stain and just maybe a little bit. So I don't want too much, but then I just want a hint that I've got a bit of stencil going on. And it just all adds an element of different textures. Right, so I think we can go, and it'd be quite nice down there, a little bit in this corner, go out there. Cool. Right, so that's, and again, just clean off the excess from your stencil, give it a good clean, get my little rag, dry it off. Put the stencil back. So I will show you what we've got so far, where we've got to. So this is what we've got so far. So we've got a nice grungy mixed background, different layers, different, hope you can see that. So there we go. So there we go. So what I'm going to do now, I want to, because I'm going to go embossing now, I want to make sure this is all perfectly dry. So heat gun. And then anti-static bag. Now I'm going to use from the Make Your Mark stamp set. I don't know what you would call it. It's like a crack, really. Ephesia. But it's this one. You probably can't see it, but it's, let me show you on the actual front here. It's this one here. So it's like a wall crack. And it's quite nice. So what I'm going to do is, what I'm aiming to do, I don't want it to go straight across or straight up and down. What I'm going to aim for is going from like here and down to there. So so I'm going to do a kind of a diagonal and anti-static. And a bit of copy paper to catch the excess powder. Always, and put the distress ink pads away now because they're not needed, so they can go. Get me a bit more room. So, as I say, I'm going to stamp this up, ink this up, and I'm going to go from position it the way I want it. So that'd be okay. I'm quite happy with that. And then gold embossing powder, and I'm using Nouveau embossing powder, gold. There we go. I was worried then it didn't come out, but yes, it has come out. I have got an image. So pour that back into your container, and then top, and then heat set. So you will see it will go a nice shiny gold as it's doing now. So that's happily melted. So you can do the next one. Ink up the stamp again. And then this time I'm going to go down towards this corner. Gold embossing powder. There we go. And I've just got a little bit where I don't want it to be. So I'm just going to brush that off. That's excellent. That's fine. Again, and then just heat set it again. And when it goes shiny and gold, you can just move it on to the next bit. Cool. So I think, yeah, I'm happy with that. So as you can see from there, I've got a nice gold image going right the way through my card. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the Crackling Campfire enamel, and ink. There it is. And I'm just going to use this ring that came in with the Make Your Mark the Make Your Mark stamp set, and I'm just going to use bits of it, or little bits up in, just to give it a little that bit extra texture and interest to my background. So where I think I've got obvious gaps, or where I think interest is needed, I'm just going to stamp these circles. So I'm going to put one up here, maybe one over there, and one over here. Now the reason I'm using the embossing glaze is because it will you'll still be able to see the layers underneath that I've gone to all that trouble of stamping. So again, a little bit of anti-static. There we go. The embossing glaze. So what I've done there is got a little bit of so I want to get rid of that. Cool. Pull the excess back into your pot, just like that. Excellent. Put the top on. And then we can heat set this. So and again, when it goes nice and shiny, that's when it's set. So, and this is why I like the embossing glaze, because if I hold this up to you now, where my finger's pointing, you can still see through the glaze and see what I've done underneath. So it's quite a nice way of doing things. It gives you that little bit extra texture and interest to your background. So I'm just going to ink up my stamp again and anti-static. I'm going to put a little bit, but I'm going to go off the page on this one. So on where I've got the widest bit on the stamp, which is around there, that's what I want on the actual card. So do that. Because I've gone off the page, I'm going to turn my paper over and again apply a little bit of the glaze. Scrape off the excess. There we go. Pull the excess back into your pot. And even though these glazes might seem a little bit expensive, they do go a long way. I mean, they will last you years probably. I mean, again, it depends on how often you use them, how much you use, you know, but generally embossing powders, I find they just seem to go on and on and on. So again, I'm just going to heat set this. When it goes shiny, I know it's all set and done. Which I think is about now. I'm just going to do another final one down the bottom here. So light taps onto your stamp. And there we go. Turn that over and final bit of glaze. Scrape off or brush off any excess that you don't want. There we go. And then that can pop back into your container. And then heat set it for the final time. Right, so here we go. There's our final piece of background artwork. So got a lot of textures and different things going on. Very relatively easy to do. I mean, you just need a few ink pads, embossing powder, and you're good to go. And you can do all your own backgrounds. So let me just tidy up a little bit here, get rid of my anti-static bags and give this stamp a wipe down and clean. There we go, give that a wipe. Put that to one side and get rid of the ink pad. Get rid of the Versamark and give my quick wipe. There we go. Put that to one side. So there we go. There's our finished piece of work. So all we need to do now is make that into our Z-fold. So all I've got here is a scoreboard, and I'm just going to lay that and double check where I'm actually scoring. Helps if I have it on the right way, Andrew. So there we go. Right, so just need to score it. Did that one. Right, let's do it the old-fashioned way. There we go. Right, so got there in the end. So there's my basic Z-fold. So what I'm going to do now is get my paper trimmer. Get rid of all that. And I'm actually going to cut this just under, because it's full. So let's go. Yeah. There we go. It's slightly smaller. So all we do now to make it into a Z-fold, we need to just reverse let me show you. So this so yeah, so that cut off like that. So what we need to do is turn it over and do it that way, but we need to do it that way. So when I put it together, my pattern is still on the outside. So I hope you got that. So that's how it was cut. And we just need to flip it over and reverse like that. So when I open it, when it opens, you've got all the pattern on the outside. So all we do now is just apply a little bit of double-sided to that little edge and that little edge. And then take off the tabs. And again, this is something you can make in any size. Once you've got the basics and worked out how Z-fold cards go, you can make it any size you want, as I've done there. So there is your finished Z-fold card with your own background that you've done all yourself. Okay, hope you've enjoyed that. That's the one I obviously done earlier, slightly bigger, different size, slightly bigger size. So there you go. There's your Z-fold card. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, if you do like it, subscribe below. That'd be absolutely amazing. And like the video. And I'll see you again next time. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.